Hello everyone. First at all, let me introduce myself. My name is ATHILAH BINTI HUSSIN. My metric number is #20A1141. Today I would like to present Part A, which is data aggregation. First at all, we need to select random data that's been given. Our group has selected data from labor force by age group in para. From the data, we have to randomly selected sample that is 15 data. So, as we know, the size of sample is n equal to 15. Now we need to calculate the class width. Before we calculate the class width, we must find the number of classes. To get the number of classes, we need to use the formula 2 power of k equal to n. First step, we need to make sure the number of classes is greater than the previous 15 data. The second step, we need to substitute k to 6, so we get 2 power of 6. When we calculate 2 power of 6 equal to 64. This is mean 64 is greater than 15. So now we can start calculate class width. The first step to calculate class width is we need to find maximum entry and minimum entry in the data that we have selected. So from the data given, we got 111.3 as the maximum entry and 22.0 as the minimum entry. And the number of classes is 6. So we subtract 111.3 by 22.0 and we got 89.3. From that, we divide 89.3 by 6. The result we got is 14.8. And we need to round to 15. So the class width is 15. Now we move to the first table of frequency distribution. For class, how we decide the class is using the class width, which is 15. So it must be like 20 until 36, 37 until 51, 52 until 66, 67 until 81, 82 until 96, and the class is 97 until 111. Now we move to frequency. To get frequency by referring of the data. For frequency, the first column is 11, the second is 7, the third is 2, the fourth is 6, and the fifth is 13, and the last one is 11. So we can see the frequency is equal to 15 data. Now we move to the second table is relative frequency table. We need to calculate relative frequency. How to calculate it? The formula class frequency is F divided by the sample size, which is n. So it must be like this. 11 divided by 15 equals 0.22. 7 divided by 15 equal to 0.14. 2 divided by 15 equals 0.04. 6 divided by 15 equal to 0.12. 13 divided by 15 equal to 0.26. And the last one is 11 divided by 15 equal 0.22. Now we move to the cumulative frequency. We use the formula of cumulative frequency of the last class equal to the sample size, which is n. So it must be like this. First column is 11, the second column must be 11 plus 7, which is we take the frequency column and it must be 18. And the third must be 20, next 26, then 39, and the last one is 15. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SYAHIRAH binti ADNAN. My metric card number #2081873. So we will continue with the graphical method part. We construct a table which have a class, midpoint, and frequency. For the first class, it will be 6 class for each categories. We can have a look. Based on graph 1, we can include the highest frequency is 16 with the 90 midpoint, while the lowest frequency is 6 with a 70 midpoint. For the ogive graph, we can construct a table which are class, boundaries, frequency, and cumulative frequency. The highest frequency is 16 with a cumulative frequency 42. Meanwhile, the lowest frequency is 6 with the cumulative frequency is 20.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ATHIRAH binti HASHAM Khan, and I will present about the measure of central tendency. So, measure of central tendency refers to a value that represents the center of distribution. Thus, there are 3 most commonly used to measure of central tendency that are called as mean, median, and mode. I will explain about the mean first. So, mean is a set of data that consists classes, midpoint, frequency, and F8. Next, how to find the F8? So, we will take the frequency, multiply by midpoint, and we got the answer for the F8. After that, the total of F8 is 3490 and N is equal to 50. Then, the solution is F8 divided by N, which is 3490 divided by 50, and the answer is 69.8. So, the answer for mean is 69.8. Next, how to find the median? There are 3 tables that are included in median, which is classes, frequency, and cumulative frequency. So, there are 5 steps we need to follow to get the value of median. The first step is determine the location of the median class. So, N is equal to 50 must divided by 2, and we got 25 of observation. According to the data, we can see that the closest number in cumulative frequency is 26. Therefore, the median class is 67 until 81. Step 2 is we need to determine the lower class boundary LM, which is 66.5. Meanwhile, for the step 3 is determine the class size or class width, which is we take 81.5 minus width 66.5, and the answer is 15. The fourth step is determine the cumulative frequency before median class, which is 20, and the frequency of the median class is equal to 6. The last step is we calculate the median. The solution is 66.5 plus in bracket 50 multiplied by 2 minus 20 and divided by 6 and times to 15. And we got the answer of median is 79. Next, as for the mode part, is only involve 2 tables of data, which is classes and frequency. Firstly, we need to determine the model class, which is based on the highest frequency. Therefore, the model class is 82 until 96, which is in the highest frequency 13. Meanwhile, for the lower class LM is 81.5. Next, as for the class size, we take 96.5 minus by 81.5, and the answer is 15. Next, the difference between frequency of model class and the frequency of the class before model class is equal to 7. Meanwhile, the difference between frequency of model class and the frequency of the class after model class is equal to 2. The solution is we take 81.5 plus in bracket 7 divided by 7 plus 2 and times to 15. The answer of mode is 93.17. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is ZULKIFLEE. H20A1883 is my metric number, and I'm the presenter of the measure of variation for A section. First of all, for the measure of variation, we need to identify the range. The formula of the range is the maximum entry data minus by minimum entry data. Based on the table, you can see that the maximum data is at 111.3, while the minimum data is 24.3. After we minus these two data, we will get the 87.1 as the answer. But the answer need to round off for the nearest number for a better answer. So you will get the range answer at 87, and that can be concluded the range of the number group of label in para is 87 people. Next, at the part of variance and deviation, there are few things that need to be done. As you can see, there is a table for this part that contains 6 types of column that has a different type of data. For the column 1 is the type of class for the data. Column 2 is filled with the frequency of data, which as you can see, the highest frequency is 13 and the lowest one is 2. And also the total of frequency is 50. The third column is X, which is the midpoint for the data class in column 1 before. To find the midpoint, you need to take the last data in one class and minus with the first data for the same class data. So, as you can see, at the first class, we will take 36 minus 22 and you will get the 14. Then, you divide the 14 into 2 and got the 7. To know the midpoint in the class, you need to take the last data, which is 36, and minus to 7. Then you will get the 29 as the midpoint for the class number 1. Same goes to other class on how to get the midpoint. After that, for the X2, the way you fill the data by take the data from the midpoint and multiply it into 2 times. For example, you take the 29 and multiply it with 2 times and it will get 319. The same process go to the other midpoint to fill up the X2 data. The total for this part is 3,490. So the summation fx will be equal to 3,590. Next, for the data in the last column, which is the fx2. The first step is you need to take the data in frequency column and multiply it with the data at the x2. For example, in the table, you take the 13 at the frequency column and multiply it with the 7,921, which is the data at the x2 column. So you will get the answer at the last column is 102973. The total data for the fx is 284273. So the summation fx square equal to 284273. The last one is the sample standard deviation. To get this answer, you need to follow this formula. S equal to square root S square. So the calculation will be square root 830.02 and got the answer at 28.81. And we round off the answer to the nearest number and it will be 29. From all the answer of the calculation, we'll be able to get the conclusion, which are the sample variance is about 830 labels and the sample standard deviation is about 29 labels. That's all. Thank you. To the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Muhammad Sobri bin Muhammad Ali. My patent number is H2OB1233. Today I want to explain to all of you what a measure of position. The measure position is a determine the measurement of a position. The data must be sorted from lowest to the highest. In this topic, we focus on a quartile. Quartile is a set of data will be divided in the 4 groups. Each quartile contains of 25% of the total observation. The first quartile is the lowest 25% of numbers, and the second quartile between 0% until 50% up to the median, and then the third quartile, which is 2% until 75%. And this last quartile is the highest, is 75% of numbers. Okay, from this table we need to take a look at the column of the class and the frequency and cumulative frequency. Okay, the first step is quartile 1 is find the location of the quartile 1. 50n must be divided by 4, which is 50 divided by 4 equal to 12.5, and the class interval is 37 until 51. So the step 2 is take the lower boundaries in the class interval, which is 12.5 minus by 2 and divide by 13 times 18, and the answer is 15.53. For the next quartile is 37.5 must be minus 37 divided by 15 times 18, and we will get answer 1.229, and the total up for the interquartile range for the quartile 1 and 2 is 13.30.
Hi everyone, I am Supin, daughter of BOON. My metric number is H20A1824. Today I would like to present about the data set consists. If the data set consists of n more than 100, then you may select at random. N not greater than 100, but n must be at least 30. This data set is n equal 36. Then the second slide that indicate the 36 equal sample of data. The second one is correlation coefficient. This step we need to know how to calculate the correlation coefficient. Now that we see the table of correlation coefficient, and we have to contrast moment get the final answer to correlation. Now we look at the data that has been added from all the data starting from the top to bottom, and will be able to sum for each column. Total X 6079, total Y 154.45, total for X square 1,182,173. Total for Y square 738.0529. Sums XY 50,388.55. Look at the formula correlative coefficient. R equals sum of xy minus sum x of frame sum of y divide square root of the bracket of bracket y power of 2 divide n. The final answer is negative 3.12. There is very strong negative correlation at negative 3.12 between x and y. That's all for me. Thank you.
That is simple linear regression. Refer to the equation is estimate regression equation and interpret the regression. The formula is B1 equals sum xy minus sum x sum y divide with n divide with square root bracket sum x power of 2 minus bracket sum x bracket power of 2 and divide with N. So this is how we calculate by using this formula. This is B1 equal 15,388.55 minus 6079 bracket 145.45 divided by 36, and we will get the answer is 2.543. For B0, B1 equal 4.094 minus bracket 2.543 times 116.1617 equal 29.13, and for the ratio equation is 2913 minus 2.543x, and the answer is 2.543. So for the average price increase in the sale, the number of units sold of the product we will increase about 2.543.